Okay, so here I am in Sublime Text, and I'm looking at script.js, which is located in Lecture 41 in the examples folder. Now again, we opened up this workspace exactly the same way we opened it up in Lecture 40. So if you don't remember how to do this, please refer to that lecture. We also have our browser sync turned on, and I have my developer tools open that is connected to index.html, which includes script.js. Let's go ahead and close the file explorer so we could see it a little bit better. So the first thing we're doing here is we're defining this variable message in the global scope, and we're just giving it a string called inGlobal. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just console it out. So let's go ahead and save it and see that message pop out. So as expected, we're seeing message equals inGlobal, just like we defined it right here. Now, where is this message variable stored? As I told you before, each execution gets its own execution context. So it is inside the global execution context, which also has a special object referred to as this. So let's go ahead and type this and take a look. This actually is referring to window. If you type window here, it's the same object. As you can see, this window object has lots of different name value pairs. And one of them is message inGlobal. So the message variable is actually attached to this variable, which is our global execution context. Let's go ahead and comment some more of the code that we wrote here. And we'll comment the very last line of this function, so we won't execute B. So now we defined a function and stored the function in the variable A. And this function defines its own message variable, that the value of which is inside A. And all it really does is just output the message value to the console. Now we obviously need to also execute this function, so we'll go ahead and uncomment this line. So when we save this, the browser sync should refresh our console, and we should see first global message equals inGlobal, since this is something that is sitting in the global scope. And then when we execute function A, we'll see a message equals inside A, since this message variable is sitting inside of the function scope of the function A. So let's go ahead and save that. This will get refreshed, and just like we thought, we see the global inGlobal, and A is inside A. Now what happens now if we call B from inside A, and B is also going to be defined in the global scope? So here we're not defining our own message, we're just using whatever message comes to us from our outer scope. Well, the outer scope of function B is the global scope. So what we should see is first the message that it's inGlobal, then we'll see A, because A is being invoked right here, and the message defined inside A will be output to the console. And finally, when we invoke B, we'll see this message referring to the global one, since its outer reference is global. Let's go ahead and save that. And as we predicted, message equals from the B function is equal inGlobal. Now let's see what happens if I take this function and I cut it out of here, and I actually define this function inside function A. So let's go ahead and indent this a little bit. So now B is defined inside function A, which means B's outer reference is function A variable scope. So let's go ahead and save that, and now this message B will be the same as message in A. Let's go ahead and save that. As you can see, message in B is inside A, which is exactly the same as message in A. So in summary, we spoke about defining variables. We spoke about the fact that all variables in JavaScript are dynamically typed, which means its type is determined at runtime. Now we also spoke about defining functions and the fact that when you execute a function, it creates its own scope, lexical scope or functional scope. Now it's important to remember that all JavaScript code runs within some execution context, and each execution context has a number of things that are available to it. One of those things is the outer variable environment. And scope chain is used to retrieve variables from outer variable environments that are not found within your own execution context.